Whether it's a petri dish, whether it's artificial insemination, what do you need?
2 people.
Nope. What do you need? An egg and a sperm. You need 2 energies, a male and a female energy. Under no circumstance can you have a child under any other circumstance. So, the nature of cancer, of the mother, of creation, has to do with 2 energies. So, of course, she has to say, wait a minute, Eligio, there's a second entity there. There's a second energy, my son. A Capricorn won't say. A Capricorn will be like, oh, there's a second person? Get out of my way, I gotta miss. And they're opposite signs.
That's my other.
So you've got the other, you've got the team, and then you've got the single. That doesn't mean that that's you. I'm just being general. So that's why it's so important. And so what happens? Children play. What is one of the very common disturbing things that children do that parents get very uncomfortable with when they're little? 2, 3 years old, children start to behave in this way and parents get ridiculously uncomfortable.
No, so there's
Went to clanging places, like clanging tall places.
exploring their body parts.
Exploring body parts.
Oh.
They touch themselves because they're trying to understand their body. And oftentimes they are shamed for it. Okay? A lot of times the parents will be like, you can do that, you have a limit. You could do that, but do it where no one's seeing you behind the couch. But in most cases, whether you're yelled at, told don't do it, or go hide, you are shamed for that because this was taught to be sacred and such. As a child grows up, this becomes sex. Sexual energy, the energy of the masculine and the feminine, is the energy of creation. Because it is the only 2 energies that can create something. The only 2. That's why in the myth there was a boy and a girl. Okay? So if you stop playing, creating a book, a party, a theory, I don't know, a night out with your friends, that's all creating, playing card games, you're killing off your life source. Creation is life. It has nothing to do with whether you want to have a child or not. It has to do with what are you doing in your life to honor your creative energy. So someone like Freud, and I'm putting in pieces here, I'm telling you that I'm ignorant in that, but I have a global understanding, and that's why I'm taking the liberty. If he talks about repressed sexual energy, it's not just sex. That woman in his office could have maybe get the fuck this shit coloring book, and she might have just had an orgasm coloring. I don't know. But it would have started the energies flowing. So what you often see with adults that are Wendy's is that they're tight asses, they're miserable, they're on time all the time, they don't crack a joke, they can't eat a Snickers bar. There's many, many variants of how Wendy shows up. And what that person has inside of them is one hell of a repressed child. And they need a coloring book and to go to the playground. And Brene Brown writes a lot about this. The importance of play. A lot of people do now. There's a few, but I'm losing the train of thought. So, when you see someone like a Wendy in your practice, it's good to ask what they do for fun, how do they get play, maybe sending them assignments like that, even if it's just swinging. I love to swing on the swings. That's my happy place. You might want to have adult coloring books and rip out a piece and you can send them home with it and they can make photocopies, or you can do something in the office in your session that is going to start talking about the child. Because remember, super, super important, the subconscious thinks it's always right now, and it's always in real time. So you might give your client this paper to color, or do this assignment, or close their eyes and draw their picture or whatnot, and you might get a response. You might elicit a response emotionally from them, or you can say, did something come up, or are you feeling something when you drew that picture of your family, or whatever, or draw a picture of you as a little girl, whatever it is. And whatever comes up is stored from subconscious that never grew past the trauma. That person's stuck because the subconscious doesn't know that you're 19 or 40 or 35 or 60. It's stuck at the moment where the trauma happened in childhood. And so there's two options. I stay a Peter Pan because I'm constantly trying to relive this to get over it, or I turn into a Wendy so I never have to live it again. 0, 100. The answer is no. 48 to 52, a balance of Peter Pan, playfulness, silliness, pixie dust and fairy tales, creation, play, go out and have a beer with the guys, go to the garden thing in Wynwood and do painting without brushes because there's a gazillion things. What's this new thing? Twist and paint, paint with a twist. That's a have a fun time. That is a great night. Seriously, super fun. That's a 48 to 52. You're painting, but Wendy gets her little wine. Okay? And then you get the balance. And then the Wendy is you get to work on time, you do your papers in APA style, you go to work, you feed the kids, you save money, all of the adult things that we need to do. Does anyone remember my definition of freedom? No? Okay, my definition of freedom is what you have to do mixed with what you want to do. Peter Pan types in practice, like I was, want to own their own business, want to come and go as they please, don't want to answer a boss, want to wake up at the time they want, screw you, I'm not going to save money, I'm going to spend whatever I want. Yeah, rockstar. The guy at the beach with the Speedo at 60 years old that needs to like freaking get a pair of like board shorts. Okay? That, my friend, is Peter Pan. That creates in a client chaos, oftentimes addiction, not necessarily because there's an addictive personality, it's the party life. So oftentimes we say, oh, that person's a party or an addict or whatever. This is someone who never saves money. Whatever adult responsibilities they should have, they say, fuck you. I ain't doing it. Of course, we all know people like this. And we all have a piece of this somewhere in our life. Somewhere you don't want to be an adult. Of course, because somewhere you have a trauma from childhood that has not been resolved. And the only way to stay Peter Pan, to stay child, to hope that you're going to relive your childhood, because we all want to relive our childhood, but in a fairy tale way, is staying stuck in our trauma. That's why we keep reliving it and reliving it and reliving it. Because if I hold on to that story, one day I'm going to get the what? How do they all end? The happily ever after. Bullshit! It ain't coming. Your childhood passed, you didn't get it, and if you think you got it, you didn't. Newsflash, because I have a lot of clients like that, and I was one of those people. That's why fairy tales are scary tales, and Disney changed them with different endings. That's why I brought the book of the Brothers Grimm, because they're scary. The original mermaid got her feet and eventually killed herself and fell off, or went off the cliff. Life's hard. So, if in my psyche I can keep reliving my childhood trauma, this is why this is so important, the 0 to 7, in therapy. Not all modern and postmodern therapists agree. I am teaching you child psychology and my perspectives and other perspectives like Erickson and Freud and people that do work in the child. Why? Because your client will repeat their childhood trauma over and over in attempts to get the happily ever after. It's the whole point of the movie Groundhog Day.
Yeah.
And at the end, he gets the girl, he gets the job, Pickawaki Phil comes out and winter ends, and everyone's happy. Bye. Yeah, you get that. You just get that at like 90 when you're on your freaking deathbed. If every skinny cow cycle you did shit. If you worked, you might get closer to that. That's the whole purpose. It's interesting that it's 0 to 7, and it's every 7 years that you get your skinny cow. That the door gets knocked on that says, I'm back, trauma's here, let's redo it. Your little kid is like, yeah, fuck this shit again? Well, maybe this time I'll get it right. He'll get right a little. And then the next 7 and the next 7. Yes.
So that's what you were describing is more or less when a person has a middle-age crisis, right? Like when they
Excellent question.
Like when they reach a certain age, like the guy turns 50, he buys the car he wanted to have when he was 16.
Perfect! Perfect question. Midlife crisis. How many skinny cow cycles is 50 years old? 7. Every 7 years, you get to revisit this trauma. But there is a story, because there's no new story. And this is why. There is a Greek mythology story, which I talked to you a little bit about last time. A gentleman by the name of Chiron. He's this little half animal, half human. He's usually with Hercules, if you've ever seen the Hercules story. In the stars, at 48 to 52, around 50, Chiron shows up in your life. Chiron, the symbol for Chiron is this. This means the wound. So maybe we'll do that, maybe in health psychology or whatever, we'll figure out what class, I'll bring everyone's chart. I know that we did a little bit with that the other day, with the elements, but I'll show you your specific Chiron. Where you have your Chiron is directly related to the trauma between 0 to 7 that you never got over. And you keep opening it up every 7 years for your skinny cow, and you don't really clean it. You kind of look at it and go, put a Band-Aid, and then the next 7. And by 49, 50 years old, when you need to go wear the Speedo and buy the Ferrari and dump your wife and get the 16-year-old, you're like, damn, this is dirty. But all of a sudden, you have to go to the hospital Because you have gangrene and someone needs to chop your arm off. You can't just go Band-Aid. And that's what this comes. At the 7th cycle of the wound, you get an opportunity. The actual asteroid in the sky says to you, knock, knock, are you ready to heal this? Are you ready to find the middle between Peter Pan and Wendy? But why does it have to come around that time? This is middle age. Okay, that's why it's called a midlife crisis. It does happen to others earlier at times, but this is the huge. There's a great book by James Hollis called The Middle Passage, I believe. I think I've told you guys about this before. It's skinny. Read it. You'll love it. Anyway, at 50, since you've been opening that wound and cleaning it or not and ignoring it, and it's getting bigger and bigger and bigger, finally, something has to happen. Oh my God, I can't handle this old nagging wife. I can't handle my boss. Go fuck off. I can't handle being straitjacket. I'm going to go and, spend all my life savings. Some major midlife crisis happens. Destroy your life. Blow it up. Why? Because what you're trying to do, those are usually Wendy types. They're trying to come to the middle to find some of their Peter Pan. But behavior change does not come neat. We go Wendy, Peter Pan. Leave everything, run off with the beautiful mermaids. Oh shit, I have a mortgage payment. Okay, pay the mortgage payment. Get drunk in stupor 3 days, my boss doesn't know where I am. Oh shit, I gotta take my kid to the dentist. Fuck that shit, I'm throwing my savings away and I'm running off to Costa Rica with the first girl I meet at the airport. And then eventually, well, I gotta go to work. I'm too fucking old for these hangovers. My kid's graduating. Yeah, Netflix and chill sounds better today. And you start, during the midlife crisis, finding the middle between your Peter Pan and your Wendy. That tends to happen with more Wendy types because they've repressed their child so much. Now what tends to happen to Peter Pan types? You say, fuck it, I'm not taking anything, I'm coming and going as I please, and shit's like party. I'm not a partier, but my form of chaos. And all of a sudden, oh fuck, you got 3 kids going to college, you don't have a partner to help you, you're freaking like, what the fuck just happened? A job calls you and you're like, yep, gotta take it. And you're forced into Wendy. And then you go and you're crazy. Okay. Oh shit, I gotta go to work. I gotta teach those students. I'm gonna go to the keys. Yeah. Damn, I gotta move and I have to put first last security. This is me. And then you're like, okay.
And they were beautiful pictures for that short time.
Yes, it was such a needed, nice trip. That Peter Pan was much needed. And then you find a 48 to 52. Most people are more empathic to which one?
Peter. No, actually the Wendy.
Oh, and the other.
I think most people are more empathic to the Wendy wanting to become Peter Pan.
Yeah.
Because she's working so hard.
Yep.
Exactly. Than Peter Pan having to become Wendy.
Yeah.
It's the same thing. It is a child wound that was never healed. And so it is in the psyche and in the stars that oftentimes 7 cycles comes full circle. Chiron in the stars comes full circle. Do you want to hear another story about it? I'll tell you another story, yes?
Say yes.
Okay, I'll tell you another story about that in a minute. Comes full circle, and the purpose of the midlife crisis is to find the middle between the Wendy and the Peter Pan. Because most of us are living either too Wendy or too Peter Pan. Or, this is another thing you'll find in practice, you'll have somebody who has lived Wendy, 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 Peter Pan, Peter Pan, Peter Pan, Peter Pan. They try to be that perfect. They try to be, the screwy, chaotic, let me screw up everything. And then they're trying to find a middle ground. That they've tried both extremes. We find this in relationships. I dated the player, the bad boy. I dated the responsible good guy. Neither one worked out. 0 to 100. Now I find the middle. But in our life and in our psyche, this, Gerson, is why it happens around that age. I'll tell you a quick little story about this. Greek mythology. So, all of the gods had children. And the children would study at the school of Olympus. One day, they saw this little creature on the bottom of the earth crying. He had been abandoned. In the psyche, every single one of us, that's why when you have a client who tells you their childhood was perfect, problem. You got a lot of work to do. It is easier to work with someone that says, shit, my childhood sucked. Because they're aware of the trauma. The person who lives in the bubble, you've got to do some major shattering to get them to realize, mommy and daddy were not perfect people. So you have some work to do there. Every single one of us has an archetype, a personality characteristic, okay, that is the abandoned child. Allison used to say, oh, I have abandonment issues. This one used to say, I have abandonment. We all have abandonment issues, every single one of us. Yours just might be different. It may not be your parents, like Allison who was adopted, but every single one of us has some abandonment issue of something. And this is the wound that was created between 0 to 7. If you were left on the side of the road, they didn't pick you up after school, that's an abandonment issue. They forgot you. That happens to kids.
Oh yeah, all the time.
Oh shit, I was at work, and I forgot to pick up my kid, and the kid is there, and the daycare is calling, that kid just got an abandonment freaking wound. Sorry, mom and dad, you fucked them up. That's your job. Every one of us has that. So in Greek mythology, Chiron was thrown, left there, abandoned by his parents, and the gods look down and go, oh, that poor little guy, let's pick him up. They dust him off. They realize he's really smart. They say, man, this guy's smart. We could put him to work. What happens in the psyche, in the area that we are abandoned, we work and we work and we work. We become the Cinderella because we think we are not worthy. So we become the Cinderella of the story, that we become the cleaner, a housekeeper in our own house. Because if somebody did us the favor of helping us or saving us or giving us something when we were down, oh, you are going to beat yourself up for that for the rest of your life, because how dare you need any help? Psyche. That's where we get the archetype of the scapegoat or the archetype of the black sheep. Anyone a black sheep in their family?
I was for many years.
Raise that hand. Peter Pan. Okay?
Way far from the truth.
So somewhere that wound, somewhere that you were abandoned, whoever took you in, you owe that fucker for life. Not because you really do, but you do. And you go, fwa, fwa, fwa. And you guys know enough of my origin story that, of course, I owe my parents for life, because how I wasn't even supposed to be born. My mom was going to tie her tubes. I owe the doctor, but I don't know who that is, so I got to thank my parents. And for life after life after life, I have to be, and the only way to thank my parents but not be equal is to become the black sheep of the family. Because I have to be a piece of shit, because I don't belong to that family, just like Chiron in the story. So wherever you have an abandonment issue, whether it was men, women, work, you feel, it's not the truth, you are going to act indebted to that part of your life, the people that represent that, forever, until you say, what? And that's part of the midlife crisis. It's to say, no, thank you. No, not doing it. Okay, so it's where we get our worth, but that's the Cinderella story, is this. So they adopt him, and they say he's really smart, and they say, hey, will you teach all of our children geometry and philosophy and accounting and, archery? And he's like, yeah, and if you ever saw Percy Jackson, Pierce Brosnan plays this character. They're at a big camp, and he's with Percy, and he's with the other one that does archery and stuff like that, and Annabelle. He teaches them, Annabelle, and he teaches them all of the skills. But his favorite student was Hercules. And Hercules is the warrior. Have you ever heard the term wounded warrior? Wounded warrior comes from this story. Hercules is the warrior, and Chiron is the wound. When you have such a mission for that nonprofit, or for loyalty, or to keep you and your daughter together and be with your friends and get to the top of the class and, raise your kid right and all of the things that you guys have, you are called a wounded warrior. You didn't take on that mission in that area of your life just because. It didn't just trickle down and say, oh, today I want to be a philanthropist, or today I feel like taking care of kids, or today I feel like teaching karate to, women. No. It's because you have a wound that came from 0 to 7. Here's your Chiron. And warrior archetype is the Hercules. And it is only because you're so damn wounded that you're going to fight for fucking justice, and it's never going to happen to anyone else again. So in the story, and if you watch the Disney version of Hercules, you see Hercules always with Phil. The wound and the warrior. Always, you got a little Phil right on your shoulder telling you, you were wounded. No, help others. Or you can go the other way, which happens, which is like, fuck you, I was raped, well, I'm going to get you. I mean, those people exist. That's not the norm, but that happens, okay? So, Chiron loved Hercules, his favorite student. And Hercules, the warrior, always going to war to fight for just causes, and Chiron, yeah. Well, they find out that a bride is going to be raped on her wedding day. So Hercules goes and says, Chiron, come with me. I gotta go save this bride. Hercules has these arrows that he dips in a poison. And if the poison touches you, it can never heal. It is the wound that never heals. The trauma that you have from 0 to 7, in my belief system from conception, never heals. Human wounds don't heal. Write it, tattoo it, accept it. You are going to touch that wound, whether it's 2 years into his death or 25 years into his death, and that shit's gonna hurt.
You have to learn how to live with it. That's it.
That is all you could do, is accept that human wounds don't hurt. So Hercules goes, put his arrow, And does he get the guy who's raping the bride?
No.
He hits Chiron. Smack in the leg. Oh shit, that hurt. Why did he get Chiron in the thigh? Preview to health psychology. Why in the thigh? What did I tell you is here?